How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to the channel and welcome to a new series which we're going to call the perfect first car. So the premise behind this new series is I'm going to get into different cars that I believe could be someone's perfect first car, or not even their first car. You might have your first car now, but it might be something you're looking to upgrade because it's sort of your banger or a beater first car because you were 18 when you got your car or whatever, and you're looking to make that first step of you actually buying your own car. Your first car might have been a gift from parents or family or whoever, and you might be looking to get that first car that you buy. Or ideally, this could be one of the series that helps someone who's 17 or 18, just passed the test, and they're looking to get that first car. What do they get? What do you want? So that's the premise behind this. It's going to hopefully be informative, useful, resourceful, everything else to people who are looking to get into their perfect first car. So the cars I'm going to be driving, they're not going to be massively expensive. I know people don't have unlimited financial means. I'm one of them. My first car was a Vauxhall Corsa, believe it or not. It was a 65 plate when I got it at 18, so it wasn't brand new. It was about 6 months old. It was an ex-demo and I loved that car. I didn't know what first car I wanted. There was things like the Corsa, obviously the Fiesta, which we're in now, a Polo, a Golf, an Up, C2, C3, C4s, whatever, Peugeot 107s, 207s. There was loads of cars that were available, A-classes, A1s, but I didn't know what I wanted, and I ended up getting a Corsa because I didn't really put too much time and effort and thought into it. I just saw a car, liked the look of it, went for it. And don't get us wrong, that car was quality. I absolutely loved it. It was like one of the most fun I've ever had in a car, to be fair, because the small hatchbacks, you can just throw them into corners, you can rag them around, you can hoon about in them. And yeah, you don't want that boy racer sort of mentality and attitude and reputation, but it's a bit of fun. It's your first car. It's that first sense of freedom you have. And to be honest, your first car, you'll never ever forget it. So hopefully this series can help you get into the right one for what you want and what you need in a car. So we'll start this one off. And we're starting off with a car that has just had a new facelift to it. It's got a new interior and a new exterior look compared to what everyone's been used to for the last 5, 6, 7 years, and that is the Ford Fiesta. And today we've actually got the ST line, which I think something, if people can, they'll go for that rather than just the normal Fiesta. Especially young lads, I think they'll want to have the sort of styling of an ST. Obviously you can't get the power and engine of an ST at a young age, but you will want that styling of an ST because all young lads like the car that looks a bit more sporty, has a bit more aggressive stance to it, and yeah, it's just a young lad thing, isn't it? And I think as you get older, you still always want a sporty looking car and whatever else. So yeah, this is the one we're starting with today. We've got the Ford Fiesta, obviously in the ST line, and I've had this for a few days now. Obviously there'll have been some clips before this of the exterior of the car and the full interior of the car, or after this I'm not sure how I'm going to edit all this through, but we're basically going to tell you now while I'm in the car driving around central London. So I'm on the King's Road at the minute. I've just left the house. I'm going to drop this car back off now. I've had it for 2 days and I've drove it for a good few amount of hours. I drove it obviously in central London now, that you can see sort of stop start traffic, but then I've also drove it on the M25, M23, the A1, a few B roads, a few other A roads, and I've took it out sort of south of London, across to the east, and we've put it on loads of different country roads. So I've got a really good feel for this car over the last few days. Obviously it's a manual. I'm not sure if you can get these in an automatic. I wouldn't think so, but I'd imagine you can. Either way, this is a manual. I'm not used to manuals. I passed my test in a manual years ago, had my course after a year, and then after that I've just had automatics like automatics to me is the way forward. I know if you want to have a real driving experience, people say get yourself in a manual, but for me, I much prefer an automatic. But I cannot complain about the manual in this one. So the clutch, because it's a brand new car, it's a 21 plate car. At the moment, we've got 1,373 miles on the clock. So the car's just ran itself in. It's really new. Probably hasn't had many people drive it, to be fair. And the clutch is really responsive. It's really, you don't have to lift it very high at all to hit that bite. And once you've got the bite, it's super easy. Like, I don't know if it's the EcoBoost or whatever helping it, or the mild hybrid that this apparently got, but you don't need many revs. Like, pulled away there, just over 1,000 revs. You don't need many revs whatsoever to get this thing rolling, and then once it's rolling, it's super easy to switch through the gears and keep it really smooth as well. Probably not a good idea to say smooth there, as we'll hit a cluster of bumps, but yeah, bloody hell. Yeah, this car, it's been such a nice drive that I wasn't necessarily expecting, after jumping from my car being in a Range Rover all the time to then getting into a car that's so low down, a hatchback, right on the floor, ST line, so it's got slightly stiffer suspension. You don't notice like the bumps or the sort of difference, if that makes sense. It rides really well, it's so smooth, and the overall driving experience has actually been really nice. Like, when I took this on some country roads and I was pushing it to its limits, obviously within reason, in the speed limit, it handled really well, it coped really well. It was spot on, to be honest. It sort of kept itself grounded round corners. It didn't sway, didn't wobble at all, didn't get much understeer or oversteer. It was generally really, really good at handling, and it kept itself pretty easy to deal with at all speeds, whether that was 20, 30, 40 or 60, 70 on the motorways. It hasn't been a chore to drive whatsoever. The steering wheel's nice and smooth and easy, turns no bother. The braking, obviously brand new car, obviously the brakes are going to be really good. It stops as soon as you want it. It's like hitting a wall, and you can't complain whatsoever. And then the general power of the car as well. You put your foot down and yes, it's a small car. I'll talk about when I'm doing the exterior aspect of it. I'll talk about what the stats of the car are, like the capacity of the engine, the horsepower, whatever. It's not a big car, it's not a hugely powerful car at all, but it's so small and it's so light as a car that it just feels like a go-kart to drive. You're not worrying that the engine's so small that it can't deal with it. You put your foot down in this, in gears 1, 2 and 3, less than 40 mile an hour, 50 mile an hour, and this car goes. It has a bit of pull to it and it is nippy. It's obviously got that EcoBoost as well, which does give you that slight extra pull. Not sure how much it would differentiate from a normal Fiesta, but yeah, it has that little boost to it that gives it an edge. Yes, as a young driver or whatever, you might think, I just want something really, really fast, and unfortunately, unless you're willing to spend a lot of money, you can't get that. You can't get that really fast car. But this is all you need to get from A to B quickly, safely, smoothly and comfortably. I've sat in this car for hours and I haven't had a bad back once. I haven't had sore legs. I haven't felt like, oh God, I just want to get out of the car. It's been really good, to be fair. And this is the first Ford Fiesta I've driven, and honestly, it's been spot on. I can't fault it whatsoever. So, as a whole, I haven't decided whether I'm going to do like a rating system or anything on this in this series. If I am to start rating cars out of 10 or out of 5 stars or whatever, I will come back to this video and I'll throw it along the bottom. I'll put some rating up and whatever. But right now, I don't know whether I am, so I'm not going to give it a star rating or out of 10 rating. I'm just going to say this is such a smooth driver. It's really comfy. It's got more than enough power. It handles perfectly fine on all types of roads. And yeah, if I was to consider this as a perfect first car, it would be up there. It's definitely a good rival to the Corsa. The Corsa has that pros and cons compared to this. This might not be, it's not as good as the A-Class, don't get us wrong, but that is because that's an automatic and it's a lot more, well, not a lot more expensive, but is more expensive of a car. But this is better than sort of the Peugeots I've driven. It's better than an Up I've driven. It's better than an Adam I've driven. And overall, you can't go far wrong with this, to be fair. Not only does it have all them qualities I've mentioned, though, it's a Ford at the end of the day, and Fords don't go wrong. I've said that now, someone's going to get a Ford, and then someone will have a Ford, and they'll tell us my Ford goes wrong all the time. But at the end of the day, Fords are known for being solid, reliable cars. They don't fuck up, they don't go wrong, they don't break down on you all the time. You're not worried about it conking out, and if it did, which would be unfortunate, if you get a new one, it'll be in warranty and whatever. But if you had an older one, the parts aren't expensive. I do have mates who have Fords and things have went wrong. They've had to replace parts of the car or whatever. They're not expensive to replace. Whereas if you got into sort of a 1 Series, an A1, an A-Class, a Golf, these different brands are a bit more expensive to fix. Whereas Fords are pretty spot on in terms of financing a repair. It's not going to cost you a bomb. You're not going to need to take out a loan, and it is going to be pretty cheap to repair in all seriousness. Alongside sort of finance, I haven't put this exact car through any sort of finance quotes. I will do that for future cars in the future, because that is a massive part of this as well. It's all good, well and good saying this car is really good or this car is really bad, but the car that's really good costs 25 grand, the car that's really bad only costs 3 grand. Like, that is an obvious differentiation and an unrealistic comparison. But when I have seen deals passing dealerships, online, adverts, whatever, Fiestas, and speaking to a few friends, you can get them, depending on your deposit, your mileage, your term, you can get them in obviously the spec. If you didn't want an ST, you just wanted a base Fiesta, don't know what that's actually called, like a Fiesta whatever, because obviously you get Fiesta Blue Tex and stuff like that, and ST lines, whatever. You can get them from like as low as like £160 a month with £1,000 deposit and stuff. Whereas the ST line, I wouldn't think you're spending any more than £200 a month on this, brand new. And that's really good. Obviously, if you're young, if you're 18 and you only have a part-time job on the weekends or whatever while you're studying, it's not a fortune to have to pay to finance a car. If you can buy it outright and that's what you want to do, fair enough. But financing this car monthly won't cost you a bomb. It's really cheap to run. I've put 200 miles on it now, maybe 250 actually, and like I say, I don't drive these things 24/7 by the book and what it tells us, being third gear, being fourth gear. I do let the rev counter go up. I do put it in sport mode. I do have a bit of fun when I'm driving. So I've put like 250 miles on it. It's still got over half a tank of fuel left, and a tank of fuel in this is only going to cost you about 40 quid, if that, 50 quid max. It's really not going to cost you a lot to live with this car. Insuring them, I'm 23, so my quote, it said it was only going to cost us about 600 quid a year to insure this car. Obviously, if you're someone who's 18, it's your first car, you've got no years, no claims or whatever, it might cost you a bit more. You might be looking, depending on where you live and etc. And everyone's insurance codes are different, but it might cost you maybe 1,200, 1,500 quid with a black box. But this isn't a car where a black box would ruin the experience of the car. I think if you got a black box in this, you could still enjoy the car for what it is. You could still enjoy the car for how comfortable it is, how nice it is to drive. and just the overall experience of it. So yeah, this one, to start it off, has started the series really well, and I'm actually looking forward to jumping into a few other cars and comparing it against this and the A-Class. So yeah, obviously, like I said, I don't know how I've edited this video. I've done it in different ways, but you're either gonna finish off here and that's that, or I will show you now some of the pros and cons to this car. So yeah, exterior wise on the car, then it's not a bad story whatsoever with this one, to be fair. So as you can see, the front grille is being updated for this new Fiesta ST line. It's different from the previous ones, and on this specific one, all this grille is blacked out, which I think looks really nice. I don't like how this one is a gloss black plastic, whereas the bottom one is just normal black matte plastic. You obviously got the lights down here at the bottom. These new lights, the new shape of the Fiesta lights are quite nice. They're not like the Cougars where they look a bit like a knockoff of the DBX, but overall the front of the car, I think it has a nice aggressive sort of stance to it without being over the top. It has that sporty feel. Coming around to the side, then you've got the ST line detail in here, which I think is nice. Obviously shows you what model you've got, and the side skirt along the bottom there, which it doesn't come on the normal Fiesta. I have mentioned the back of the car. I don't particularly think the rear of the car is as sporty as it could be, but in terms of a daily and a perfect first car, there's not much you can complain about it, to be honest. It is personal preference. All opinions about the aesthetics of the car are all subjective. I might find the back not very nice, someone else might find the back really nice. The alloys then on these, they're not massive, but they are big enough. They sit nicely on the car. I think any bigger, and for a first car you might go around scraping them, you might go around catching them on corners and nicking them, but honestly they suit the car nicely. They've got this 5-spoke design, and some people might want a different alloy preference to go with black, but no, I think they suit the car nicely and they go well with it. It works. So yeah, from the outside, obviously you also have the privacy glass on the ST line. It's not that dark of a tint. I mean, the camera makes it look a lot darker than it is, but it's not that dark. In real life, I can't sort of see in at the back there. You can sort of see in, so it's not that dark, but it is a nice little addition. You get privacy glass on the ST line, and yeah, I do think it's not bad in terms of styling for a first car. While we're outside as well, I might as well talk about the dimensions of the car. It's not big whatsoever. So if you come back a bit and we'll take a look at it, it's not big, it's not wide, it's quite a nice shape as well. You kind of know where all the corners of the car are while you're driving. You're not worried about reverse parking or anything and it dinging a lamppost or something else. It's pretty not square, it is curved in areas, and it has a nice sort of, the lines to it are nice, but it is a pretty bog standard size. It's not massive, it's not too small, it's probably just right. You wouldn't want it any bigger, and then you definitely wouldn't want it any smaller like an Adam or a Fiat 500. Inside the car, I think, is where this car does quite well compared to its competitors. It doesn't do as well as something like the Mercedes A-Class, let's say, or the new Audi's interior, but you come inside and you have a decent dash. It's not digital, but I think it does look better than some other ones. It's not digital to the point where it has a nice screen, but the cluster dials themselves, the lighting behind them does make it look a bit more digital. Obviously you can see there when it goes off, but then you turn it on, it does sort of have a digital effect to it, but not the full. You have the digital selector in the middle, which once you can flick through, you can get your driver assists up, your location with a compass, source of media, phone if you connect it, and the settings for the car as well as your trips. which I think is really handy. It's much better to look at that digital dash than it is to look at the speedo on the right. And then coming onto the steering wheel, it's got a nice flat bottom to it. It's much nicer than some of the other wheels in the cars I've had, like the Peugeot, for example. The Mini Cooper, I wasn't a massive fan of those wheels. This one does have the flat bottom, and it's a nice leather to it as well. It's really soft and supple, got the like perforated aspect to it, and it's really easy to hold. It has the sort of all the places you'd want that would be a nice little grip to it. It does have. Center console, then I have spoke about this. Center console is something I wasn't a massive fan of, especially down here. Other people won't be bothered by this at all, and they'll absolutely love having a wireless charger, because I think that is a spot on thing to have. But if you watch the 5 things I didn't enjoy about this car, you'll see a thing about this which I think needs adapting. Also, you've got the cup holders down here which are really good, and also this little spot for your keys as well. This is from the gear stick back is all right up until you hit that back of the handbrake, and then this again, this is not great at all compared to other cars. But in terms of the middle center console, this is all you need. You don't need anything more. You've obviously got your drive select on the middle here, so you can drive modes, eco, normal, sport. That's really good, interesting. Changes the drive of the car up. You've got your traction control off if you want to turn that off, so that's a good option to have. And you've got your obviously your auto stop start as well at the same time. This middle center screen is really responsive, really useful. Get that off. You can throw everything on here, to be fair, which is really good. So you can connect people up. Ford does come with its own nav system, which is good, but obviously Apple CarPlay is standard. Oh, that's the first time it's bugged out for us. You do have your Apple CarPlay, which you can connect up to here, and that is absolutely everything you need. But obviously it has things like Wi-Fi. You can view a few vehicle settings and change things, voice control, valet mode. Yeah, it does have everything you need. But as well as that, which I think sets this car apart from some other cars, especially your sort of Mercedes, your BMW, your Audi, is that with the ST line, you get Bang & Olufsen sound system added. So as you can see here, you got the B&O there. Down in the door bin, you have another speaker there, as well as the speaker in the driver's side. And as a young person, first car, not gonna lie, one of the first things you do when you get in your car is you start it up, you plug your phone and you get your music on, and you have music blasting out the windows. And the speakers in this are absolutely spot on. They're really loud, got a good amount of bass, good amount of treble. You can adapt it to however you want it, and it's really, really got a good bit of kit, to be honest. You've also got this carbon fiber trim. I don't know how well you can see it. It's obviously not real carbon fiber, but you've got this sort of carbon fiber weave to it. Some of the Mercedes A-classes have this as well, but I think this one has sort of nicer style to it. It doesn't glare as much as some of the other cars do, and it's not over the top. There's just the little parts of the trim that have it. Sorry if the camera's not picking it up, but that's another little sporty styling point, which I think they've done nicely in this. So yeah, the inside hasn't been, especially the front half of the car, isn't bad whatsoever. Rear of the car then, back seat space is perfectly fine as well. You could definitely fit, I'm not tall, I'm 6 foot. Someone can get in there, move your seat forward, and you'd be all right. I do quite like to sit back, but yeah, you have enough room in here. Definitely 2 people can sit comfortably in here, and you also have the option for a third if you want it. More than enough headroom in here for a tall person. Leg room, if the seats are moved forward, you can get it in. But to be honest, first car, it's just you and your mate. You're not going to be clamming all yours into it, and if you are, it's more than enough for a short car journey or an hour trip or whatever. So it's nothing to worry about at all in terms of size in the back.